Welcome to the Heal with Gold show. I am so excited to be here and share Matana's story with you. So, as you come in, please say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. If you haven't approved StreamYard, please do so I can see your name. And you will have an opportunity to ask Matana questions. We came today. Hi, how are you? We came in at a little bit of a different time. We usually come at 8, but I hope that people will remember and join us live because there isn't anything like the experience of hearing our speakers live. So without further ado, I am going to bring Matana in. And I just, before I bring her, I want to say that Matana, we're going to be talking about gratitude. And I have to be so grateful to Matana because she introduced me to Paul Cummings. And then I started participating in his group. And from that group, I met so many of you that now are part of my group. We don't realize, but we have an impact in somebody's life. And there is like this effect, this domino effect that blossoms. So before I bring Matana, I'm already, she can hear me, so she can see me that I'm starting the show by showing my gratitude to her. And now I'm going to bring her over. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Matana, I'm so happy. You know that we met. It was like it's this web, right, of how we met. You met me when I was interviewing, doing a whole show with Elisheva, who was a guest here also. People love Elisheva. And from that, you contacted me. We had this 4-hour conversation, and it kind of seems that this is a pattern with us. I don't think we have ever been on the phone for less than 3 hours at a time. So,
right. Unless I say I gotta go, we'll call you later.
Exactly. So I'm just so happy to share with you, to share your wisdom and share your experience with the group. You have a story that a lot of people can relate in a sense that a lot of people suffer from anxiety and depression. This is a topic that some people have already asked me to bring to the show. And we are at a time that so many people are going through this anxious feeling because of the difficult times that we're going through now. So I want you to share your story and then how you became obsessed with gratitude. Just like, I always tell how I became obsessed with kintsugi and you were obsessed with gratitude. And I want to hear that. And we had a conversation yesterday about gratitude and what it means to really, really live with gratitude. So I'm going to pass the show to you and let's hear it.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to share on your platform my real obsession. My obsession is gratitude, one of my obsessions. And I always say, if anybody gives me the opportunity to speak about the journey and how gratitude helps me, it's the biggest gift for me because I want to gift others what I went through. And one of the things that I believe that anybody can acquire is the tool of gratitude. It's just we need to acquire it. And I'm grateful that you're giving me another platform that I can speak about my passion, that it's really passionate. You'll see I'm going to get very passionate about it soon. So I'm still mellow. You're going to see me getting very excited soon. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on who I am. I grew up in Israel. I was born in Peoria, Illinois. Grew up in Israel from an Orthodox Jewish family. My parents moved in when I was a little girl, and we grew up in poverty, literally in poverty. My parents left everything in order to be the Jewish family that lives their dream in Israel. And my father was a principal before we moved to Israel. He gave up everything and he started selling pots and pans door to door in Israel in order to feed us. And my sister tells a story. I'm one of 6. I'm the third. So I was the baby when we moved to Israel, and then there were 3 others that were born. My sister tells a story that when we were first in Israel, my mother used to go buy a half a loaf of bread, because in Israel you can buy even a half. I don't know if in this time you can do it, but at that time, almost 40 something years ago, buy a half a loaf of bread and a little container of cottage cheese, and she used to say to my sisters and I and my father, she would say, "This is the food for the day. Let's make it last." Now, I think it's hard for us to comprehend such things. And she used to say that she used to go to my aunt to do laundry. But one thing they never ever gave up was their love to life. And they always, always gave when they didn't have. My parents just celebrated 50 years anniversary. Thousands of people came through our door for the weekends. So many people call my parents mom and dad. They adopted them. You never knew that they lived in poverty. They just gave and gave and gave and gave with a smile. Everybody felt that they were their best friends. Thousands, and I'm saying thousands. When we wrote that we want some memories, we got them in the thousands. And growing up, it was all about finding the joys in life. Focusing on the good. Okay, so I grow up in Israel, go to a very Orthodox school, hated the experience. It was very hard for me. That was a whole adversity for me. But we had a very solid family, loving, caring family, no money, but very fun, loving. My father is hysterical, always making fun and jokes and whatever. That was our life. When I graduated high school, I realized that I want something a little bit different. I go to Hong Kong for the year. I said, you know what? I need to break through from this Orthodox traditional life. I go to Hong Kong and I do a year of service in Hong Kong. I start finding myself, because in Israel, it was you're the Orthodox girl and you have to stay in this box and don't leave the box. And I started experiencing life, and it was really fun. I go to Hong Kong, come back to Israel after a year. I start working in technology. This phenomenal lady, I say we acquire mentors in life. Paul Cummings is one of my mentors. One of my first mentors were my parents, and then my first real boss. I had a few other jobs, but my first real boss, she was a phenomenal. She is a phenomenal lady. Her name is Rachel Dvir. She was a widow with 5 children. Her husband died from cancer, and she was left to do life alone, and she created this technology company. And she said, Matana, you're going to work for me. I said, what am I going to work for you? I don't even know what I'm doing. She's like, I'm going to make something out of you. You're going to come work for me. She trusted me and she believed in me. And gratitude is like not even like overflowing with gratitude. She took me, I became project manager. I had over 30 employees underneath me. I was running projects in government offices. I was like the VIP. And they always said, because my name is Matana, which means gift in Israel and Hebrew, and it's a very uncommon name. I know only one other Matana that I met years later. And they said, you can open any door that's closed to us. So if there was ever like a project, they're like, send Matana. So I had a great single life. I traveled the world. I lived in China, South Africa, Australia, Thailand. I had a ton of money. Everything was doing great. I didn't even want to get married, but in the Orthodox world, you have to get married, right? You have to get married. My parents were pushing me, get married. I meet my husband. He's from Queens. He came to Israel to meet a different girl. It didn't work out with her. We get married. I leave everything. My job, my career that I was like on top of the world, my family that was my everything, and I moved to America. I trusted my husband and I said, let's go build our family in America. We moved to America 4 days after we got married. It's not like we started in Israel. 4 days, I did a leap of faith and I said, okay, we're moving to America. We have 3 children, fantastic life. And I said to him, when I got married, I said, I see what my sisters are doing. They have 9, 10, 11 children, and they're super, super career oriented. Like they were even above me in the world of power, the female world. They were running projects and they were huge. And I said, I don't want to be like that. I want to be home for my children. I can't multitask like that. I can't do powerhouse, leaving 4 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, like making dinner, coming back. I can't. So I left everything. I said, okay, I'm going to raise my children. I'm going to have children. I'm going to raise my children. I have 3 children. We're traveling. We're going to Israel, coming back, going to Israel, coming back. One time I go to Israel, I come back, and I crash. Everything comes tumbling down. One holiday, a Jewish holiday, Shavuot, comes tumbling down. I find myself on the couch, not speaking, not able to verbalize a word, literally shaking. I wake up, there are 8 EMT people around me, and they rush me to the hospital. And I'm sure I'm dying. The last words I remember telling my husband is, my husband's Ari. I said, Ari, I'm dying. I'm dying now. Who's going to raise my children? Who is going to raise my children? I said, you better pray to God. I don't want to leave the world. I'm only 33 years old. You better pray. You better pray. And I was screaming. And then I couldn't talk anymore. And then I just fell apart. I go to the hospital. They run all the tests, EKG, EEG, brain scan, everything. They say you're 100% healthy. And I'm like, no, I'm not 100% healthy. I saw death. Don't tell me I'm healthy. And don't send me home telling me I'm healthy, because I don't want to experience what I was experiencing yesterday. They gave me like this much literature to go home with, talking about mental illness, panic attacks, and anxiety. I never heard that word before. I was 33 years old, very worldly, never heard of that. I heard of mental illness because I have a family member that's very mentally ill, but I never knew that there's like anxiety, depression, panic attacks. It took me less than, I think, 2 or 3 months when I couldn't leave my bed. I wasn't eating. I needed to be fed with a straw, sip at a time. We were timing how often they should give me a sip, that I shouldn't have to go on an IV and go back to the hospital. I couldn't shower on my own. I couldn't talk. I couldn't smile. Every night panic attacks. Every night calling the Jewish 911. I ended up in the hospital time after time after time. And it was a few months later when I said to my husband, I can't do this alone anymore. It's just getting worse. I don't know what's happening. I called my mom in Israel, and I said, her name is Ima. We call her Ima. I said, Ima, it was a fast day, a Jewish fast day, Tisha B'Av, one of the largest ones. And I said, Ima, get on a plane. Come make sure I find the top doctors to figure out what's wrong with me, and make sure I get back to healing. I said, I refuse to stay in this situation. I said, if I was okay before, I will go back to being okay after. I just have to find the way. And I said, and promise me you will not let me down, and you won't leave me until I'm okay. So she said, do I need to get on a plane now, or can I wait for the fast to be over? That's how devoted my mother is. Mm-hmm. She's like, is that amazing? She said, should I go to the airport now, or should I wait till the fast is over? I said, you know what? I'm going to a therapist now. We found a therapist, SOS therapist. And I said, you can come tomorrow, but don't leave me. She came, and you know what she said? The first words that she said, what can I do to make you feel better? Which were the best words you can say to anybody that's going through it, because the patient that's going through mental illness doesn't want to hear, oh, everything's fine, you're okay, it's in your mind, we'll get through it. They want to bring the other person to understand their world and tell them how they can serve them. And it was the smartest words, and I learned a lot from her now that I help others how to speak to somebody that is struggling with depression and anxiety. So we went to doctors. I said, first we have to rule out that I'm really not physically sick. So we went to many, many, many doctors around New York. I was in Manhattan every day by a different doctor. They ruled out everything. My brain was okay. My heart was okay. My lungs were okay. Everything was okay. So, and they confirmed it's mental illness. It was depression and anxiety. I called my aunt, and I said to her, my aunt is a therapist in Manhattan. I said, tell me the name of the top psychiatrist. My husband said, what we're going to do now is going to a brain surgeon, which is a psychiatrist. We want the top in the world, like over here. We're not going to some beginner. They're going to tweak your brain. They're going to work with with chemicals, like with medicines, we have to go to the top. And we went, and Dr. Parker, he's another angel that came my way, and he explained to me what I was going through slowly. It was explaining to me 3 hour consultation,
Wow.
what mental illness is. And you know what? I always say this, and this is what I want, like the biggest message. He was a psychiatrist that you don't find a lot. And he said, I could give you all the medicines in the world, but it won't heal you. What will heal you is the exercises you're going to do in your brain. So you're going to have to go to yoga, you're going to have to do meditation, and you're going to
Wow.
have to practice gratitude.
Oh, I'm
A
shocked.
psychiatrist.
That is what I'm shocked. Not the content of what he said.
Exactly. A psychiatrist.
Wow.
And I say he was the biggest angel because that's what I connected. If not for him, I would be on medication after medication after medication now, continuing, or
Now,
maybe I would have.
some people, let's say some people do need medication. There are chemical issues that
I was on tons of medication.
Yeah.
I was on tons of medication. Tons. And I tell this to people all the time. You can take medication, but the work that you do on your attitude is how it's going to affect how your medication is going to take place. Two people can take this medication. One is doing the mindset work, the gratitude,
Right.
the affirmation. One is not. One's medicine is going to work better. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. And I went on medication, to tons of medication. I needed it. I wasn't functioning. He explained to me that I had to come out of my pain in order to deal with the pain. So he said, you're so deep in your depression and your anxiety, you don't have the ability to tap into the brain to the reserves. So we have to lift it a little bit, and then you're going to have to do the work of the gratitude, the meditation, that, and then it's going to start taking us. Do you mean I think I froze a little bit? Mary,
Yeah, but now okay.
Are you there, Mary?
No. Yeah, you're frozen, but I can hear you.
You froze a little bit. Do you see me?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, you're frozen, so I don't know if it.
Well, you know what, Matana? You had a dream
me?
last
I
night.
see you. Oh, but you're frozen. You're frozen.
But you're not. So ignore it. Keep talking because you're not frozen.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So right after that happened, I packed her bags. My mother packed us up, and we went out. Okay, are you hearing me?
I can hear
you. Are we there?
Yes. Can everybody hear Matana?
Yeah. Okay. So we
Yeah.
went. It's freezing up. I see myself freezing.
But keep talking because they can hear you and they can see you. So it's maybe just between the two of us.
Okay.
Oh, I can't believe this. Do you know, guys, that she asked me what would happen if I get kicked out? And I said, that never happened in my show before. And look at that. And she said to me before the show, I'm going to share this with you guys because you have to see. She told me, oh, here you are. Are you back?
Yeah.
I was just telling everybody that you asked me what would happen if something goes wrong because you had a dream that something was going to go wrong. And I said to you that I never had this problem that somebody got kicked out. So I'm telling you, it's crazy. Okay, can you guys hear now?
Yeah, I think we're back. Maybe it was a hiccup in the internet. Yeah. Anyway, so we went to Israel. I needed a lot of family time. I needed my parents to like help with the kids. I needed a lot of love and support and pampering. And it was a perfect thing. It's really what I needed. And I did a lot of mindfulness there. And then I started reading books, a lot of books. And I started taking courses, and I started going to healers and therapists, and I did EFT and I did EMDR and I did everything I needed to figure it out. I said I was on a mission. And I just tried everything. But the one thing that I tried from day one was gratitude. Because my father, he always taught us to be grateful to people around us for the things that they did for us. Always, always, always. He made us write letters to the janitors. He made us write letters to bus drivers. He made us write letters to the Macaulay, to the supermarket guys, like everyone, to our principals, to the teachers that we didn't like. He said, gratitude is not an option.
Okay, I just want to. There is a question. One of the viewers would love to know the books that you read.
I will. I'm gonna tell you. I bought
And,
them. I look what I have. I prepared my books. That I'm gonna
okay,
tell
and
you.
then and also after the show, we can put in the group a list of all the books, so then they
I'm
can
gonna tell you.
copy and
I,
paste into
I'm
Amazon.
gonna tell you. I came with my stack of books some of them that I have. I lend my books out a lot, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna share with you because I believe that books saved my life. Along with, I was so grateful that I had internet because I could tap into YouTubes and meditations and courses. So it was so good for me.
Mhm.
So my father said gratitude is not an option. If you don't live with gratitude, he always says the biggest disappointment you can give me in life is not being grateful. Not an ingrate. An ingrate is like the next level, just not being grateful. It's not an option. He was the guy at the end of every bus drive. We never owned a car in Israel. My parents never owned a car. He always took buses, and everybody knew him and everybody loved him. Why? He always bought a treat for the bus driver, and he was always in the back of the bus getting off screaming thank you driver in Hebrew, todah hanahag. He was known that he was the Mr. Gratitude wherever he was going. So it was in our DNA to be grateful. But he didn't teach us to be great, to live with gratitude to God for what we have. He taught us very much to notice favors, and you must be grateful to humans, but not to the gifts that we have in life that are natural to us, that we take for granted. And that was a new concept that was gaining through my journey. The number one book that changed my life, literally changed my life. I remember going to yoga in the beginning of my days, and I went to yoga 7 days a week. My kids knew they have to be in bed by 7 p.m. because mommy went to yoga at 8. No questions asked. It was mommy's time. She came back at 10, and then I used to read. It was my thing. And I remember going to yoga right after I read the book, The Secret. I don't know how God brought it to my lap, but it was the first book. And I read it, and then I read it again, and then I read it again. And then I was getting excited. And I'm like, Harry, this is it. Oh my God, I can create my future. I have the power in my mind to create my future. And it was so foreign to both of us. And I was very spiritual. My husband's very spiritual and very upbeat, and he had a horrible upbringing, and he's still smiley and upbeat. But he wasn't at the level of creating your dreams. He wasn't there. And he was down again. And he's like, okay, is this her mental illness? Getting excited about like dreams and fantasies and visualizing. I'm like, Ari, let's write it down. Let's start writing. And he's like, okay, you want to write? Let's write. But just like, let's keep it in reality a little bit, okay? And I started talking about The Secret over and over and over in my house. I called two of my therapists and two of the yoga teachers. Oh, I walked into the yoga and I'm like, is The Secret a real thing? Tell me it's the real thing. I was so wanted to believe that it's true. I needed to find the people to say, yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. And and I remember one therapist said, well, I guess it's part of it, like maybe. And then the yoga teacher was like, yes. I'm like, I'm going with the yoga. I'm just going with the yoga. I don't care. And I started, and one of the things that it says in The Secret, and then I read The Magic and the Power and the Magic over and over and over and over, all about gratitude. You need to start your day with gratitude. Notice the things, notice the gifts. And there were days when I was so blue that I couldn't get out of bed until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My friends used to come, open the shades and say, look outside the window, get out of bed. I had a friend that used to put makeup on me and look in the mirror and say, look at yourself. You see, you have color. And another friend used to say to me, come, let's walk around the block. So I had my ups and downs of like how fast I was recovering. But there were days that I didn't leave my bedroom until I went to yoga. Like I couldn't smile at my children. I couldn't make them food. By me, everything was food and celebration. I was a huge entertainer. Nothing. I was nothing. And but the one thing I said to myself, I'm going to force myself to notice at least one good thing today. And when you're in the depths of hell of depression, you don't, even if there's good, you don't want to find it. You don't want to realize that it's good. And I forced myself and I wrote it down and I wrote it down and I wrote it down with tears, with tears. I used to say, Ari, do you think it's working? Do you think it's working? Is it real? Is it going to work? Am I going to ever live again? Am I going to ever smile at my children? My children used to dance and everybody, and I was just like looking like blank. And then there was a switch that started happening after months, and I'm saying months. A switch started.
I just want to interject you about that. And it's very interesting because you know that I'm recording my course, and so much of what you're talking today is what I recorded today. But I spoke about this time because a lot of people think that you're going to do it for a week or two and it's going to be a magic bullet. And it doesn't work like that. And people look at people that succeeded or people that are doing well, and they think, wow, this is amazing. Look at these actors, they're so talented. Look at the sports people, they're so talented. They forget, though, that they have been on the court for 10 years at 4 o'clock in the morning practicing.
Exactly.
Right? So
exactly. And it's not magic.
What you just said, that I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because it's something that takes a commitment of time. It's not magic.
What did Paul Cummings say when we spoke last week? Resilience is when when you don't see the results, you keep on showing up. It's easy to keep on showing up when there's results.
Exactly.
But when you don't see results, that's resilience. And you keep on doing it. You keep on doing it, and you hope, and you hold on to hope, and you're like, okay, maybe one more day of gratitude. Maybe one day of gratitude. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit of a mindset. Maybe another day. And that's what it is. It's really another. I heard a beautiful TED Talk by a lady that practiced that her whole she's a doctor that studies resilience, and she was giving I think she was giving a class over in universities, whatever. She was writing maybe her thesis on it, and she said that she took a family trip, and her daughter and her daughter's best friend and somebody else died in a car crash in 2 seconds. And she's like, and then I had to take everything I learned and put it into action. She's like, wait, I'm supposed to be the master of resilience and getting over adversity and figuring things out. She's like, oh no, now I have to go to my textbooks and live it. And she's like, then the reality changed. But what she said was that when she studied resilience, there were 3 things that she saw patterns, that people were hunting down things to be grateful at that time. It's a hunting. And I said, that's what it is. Because there are certain times that you have to hunt and find it. It's like finding that deer that's going to run away.
Exactly. You know, I talk in my course, I talk about that when you're learning to live in a life of gratitude, it is not about saying I'm grateful that I woke up or that I can walk. It is finding the tiny little blessings, because the more you exercise your brain to see the beautiful things that happen to you that are little, that are hiding, you're going to start noticing there's so many that you're filled with blessings. And I always say, don't write grateful for coffee. Write, I am grateful for this coffee at this hour in the morning, that the temperature was just so, and the percentage of coffee and milk came out perfect. Because the more you go into detail of the explanation of what you're grateful for, the more you understand the depth
100%.
of how wonderful this is. So take the time to write a full sentence and really live it. And as you're writing, you're reliving that moment that was good. There was a blessing.
Not only that, you elevate the experience. So this is where I'm going to go in next, Mary, because we speak about this a lot. So in the beginning, when you're in depths of your challenge,
Oh my
you
God.
have to.
Matana, read this
What?
question. How do you do this for so long when you are in the depth of depression? It's crazy.
Yes,
So
I'll
much
tell you
work for
how.
someone who can't do the most basic things for
Yes,
themselves.
yes.
You just started saying, so I had to put it.
Yes, exactly. So this is the thing. When you have to decide that you're going to take role models that did it and follow their rules. So just like an athlete has a coach and he wants to run a marathon or he wants to become a soccer player or they want to whatever it is, they have a coach. Do they become that whatever they are right away? No, they follow the steps and you're like a dummy. You're really, it's like gratitude for dummies. And you're just in the beginning, you're showing up like homework for school that you hate doing in the beginning. In the beginning, that's what it is, and that's what it is. But you may not stay there for long. You have to start seeing, you have to be open to wanting to see the change. And I'm doing like this because it's really like this. You're inviting the energy in. If you're going to sit like this and say, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, I'm doing it, I can't do it, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to say, yeah.
You know that I've interviewed thrivers for now, it's about 3 years. And so I'm not a psychologist, therapist, mental health practitioner, but I have spoken to people that have gone through adversity and thrived. And I saw some commonalities between all of them. And all of them started healing the moment that they said enough is enough. I am no longer a victim. I do not agree to stay in this place anymore. Nobody's coming to save me. I have to save myself. And I'm willing to do the work regardless of how excruciating it's going to be. And then it's like you said, you take somebody that guides you and you follow like homework, whether you can or you can't. It's easy, it's hard. You just do it day in, day out until it starts becoming, until, like you said, you open up.
And then you feel it. So there's a transition that happens.
Yes.
And one of the things that I preach about a lot is you have to want it so badly. You have to want it. What was the first thing that I said? I am not willing to stay here. I wanted it so badly. And people ask me, how did you heal? I said, you know how? Because I wanted it so badly. And when you want it so badly, my path and your path are going to be different. We're going to just take a first step into our paths and we're going to go and we're going to find a way. But when you want something so badly, you don't stay put. You just keep on moving. You keep doing it. And sometimes you're numb through it. And sometimes you're depleted. And that's why it's very important to have communities. And it's very important to have somebody that inspires you and somebody that you can check in with, a mentor, a guide, somebody, a group. I always say, find your community to be your cheerleaders because it is brutal or almost impossible to do it alone. It's almost impossible to do it alone. You need your cheerleaders. You need people to motivate you. It's hard. So whoever asked that question, it's a great question. It is brutal, but when you want it badly, look at Paul. What did Paul took 40,000 words and started tracing them? I would give up after 10 words. I would give up but he wanted it. He said, I refuse to stay in this place that I can't speak and I can't write. I refuse. I'm going to learn it word by word if it takes me 14 hours a day to trace words and to recalibrate my brain. So that's what it is. What Paul Cummings did for weeks and months and years now, that's what you have to do with gratitude. You have to. And there is not one successful, I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs with mindset. Not one succeeded without gratitude. If you're going to interview anyone in the world, whatever they wanted to accomplish, if it was getting married, having children, creating a wealth, whatever they were, healing from cancer, anybody will tell you that the first thing that they started with was gratitude, because that shifts everything. It just shifts, and it's a shift that suddenly happens. And then Yeah,
I
Mary.
just want to say what's amazing from doing it and practicing myself, and I can attest to everything that Matana is saying. It's so true, and seeing all the women that I've interviewed along the years, is that it comes a point that you become grateful for your adversity. And
Right.
that is the moment, that is the most amazing moment when you
Yes.
say, I cannot believe that I'm saying that, because it was awful and nobody wishes to go through any of that.
Right.
But
Right.
when you were on the other side and you became so grateful and you became a different person because you grew from your
Yes.
experience, you're not ready to go back and become the person that you were before. Would you go back?
Exactly.
Would
Not
you
in a
go
million
back
years.
to,
Not in a million years. I'm a new person. I'm a different human. I'm a different human. I actually believe that I changed a part of my DNA. I actually believe there was something that changed in my brain that was not there before. And people tell me that all the time, that I'm a
I
different
agree
human.
with you so much. And but isn't that you become grateful for your adversity? That is the
Yeah.
moment you know that you got it. You
Yes.
you got it.
So when do you become the thriver that you talk about? And when I live on a vibration of gratitude, people always ask me, "Are you on medication because you're always happy? Are
Mhm.
you what are you smoking?" I'm like, "I'm smoking gratitude." I'm literally now it doesn't mean that I don't have hard times. I have plenty of hard times and I have plenty of moments. The question is how quickly do I come to center? How quickly do I snap out of it? How quickly do I say, it's not a big deal. I'm going to look for the silver lining. I'm going to choose to see the good in whatever. Maybe I don't see the good in whatever happened. Sometimes I don't see the good. And I say, okay, I'm going to choose to see the good in other things that are happening. It doesn't mean that we have to find the silver lining all the time, but we definitely have something to be grateful for. And what Mary was saying before about the coffee, it's funny that you bring that. And I posted it, I think, during Corona. Ari, his whole life lived in a different level than me. He was always creating his happiness because his mother left him when he was 9, disappeared, done. And his psychotic father raised him his whole life. So he was alone. He was literally alone his whole life. So he had to create his own happiness. And how did he create it? When he sips a cup of coffee, and I before I got sick, I used to make fun of him and roll my eyes. I'm like, "Are you so crazy? You're so..." This is how he sips a coffee every single morning. I know him every single. He holds his coffee like this, like a meditation. And he takes a deep breath and he looks at it and he says, "Thank you, God, for giving me this hot, warm cup of coffee to warm my soul and to go down my throat
Oh my
and
God.
to inspire every."
Freaking me
I
out.
just, by the way,
It's
because your
freaking
husband
me
does
out
the
because
same.
it's all, no, because the thing with the going down the throat, I
Yeah.
write that down. I say that
I
because,
have it on Facebook. I did a live with
oh
him
my
because I'm like,
God.
guys, this is what it's like to live with Ari. This is what it's like. Look, this is what it's like. This is what's living gratitude. And he feels it going down his throat and he feels it going through his and then he loves cheese. He loves cheese. He eats the same cheese every single day. And every single day it's as if he had the biggest gift of cheese that he hasn't had his whole life. And he just, thank you, God, for this experience of having delicious cheese to go through my mouth and to give me energy for the day. And that's what it means living with gratitude. So I was telling you the other day that you get into this rhythm and it becomes your drug. It really becomes your drug. And you're high from gratitude. You walk in like this morning I posted, you know what the good thing is about going out in the cold? Coming into the warm house. And literally I walked into the warm house and I'm like, thank you, God, for a warm house. Thank you for the coziness. Thank you for letting me feel that difference. And I'm not faking it.
Right.
I'm really saying it out loud and I'm feeling it.
Matana, you needed the dark to see the light.
Only, only.
There is
That
no
was the
other way.
only way. And I always say the people that go through darkness will feel a joy and experience joy in their life like they never felt before if it was given to them on a silver platter, on a gold platter. You can't. It's just a different level of joy that you know the difference. You're vibrating with an energy that's always singing, always singing.
Now, I want to add something. This is my personal experience from living with gratitude. Because when I'm living with gratitude, I feel that God is loving on me. And
Mhm.
I feel such love because the gratitude leads to that feeling of love and attention and care. I told you we had this 3 hour long conversation yesterday, right? And you asked me how was my day, and I told you what had happened to me, and I'm going
Right.
to share with the group right now. I had spent 5 days recording my course, and I lost, and I there was a problem with technology, and my entire course was gone. So 5 full days of work went to the garbage. But the worst part was that I didn't know how to fix the technology part. When I discovered that I had lost everything that I had done, I went upstairs and I woke up my husband and I told him, I am going away. I'm running away. I'm leaving. I didn't cry. I said it very calmly. I am going to the mountains. I'm going to a place where people are going to check my suitcase and make sure that there's no sugar. That they will take my phone away and they will make me climb a mountain twice a day. So I was so beside myself that I needed to run away to a place where it was different than my reality. And then after, and he's like, okay, honey, you can look for one of those resorts. You can go for as long as you want. We're here waiting for you. And then when I come down after I vented, I posted in a group that I never participate. I'm having this issue. Does somebody know how to help me? And this guy from Australia that I've never heard before texts me and he says, Miriam, send me via private message what equipment you have, and I'm going to help you out. And he was with me for 2.5 hours. He is an expert in audiovisual. He worked with movies in Australia. That is what he does. And he was for 2.5 hours. But what I want to explain is that after he was done helping me, the system became so much better that I did in 2 days the work that I had done in 5. So I caught up. Today, I caught up with everything that I had lost. So what happened was that I was able to appreciate every step of what had happened. I was being tested. How was I going to deal with that loss? And because I live in gratitude and because I see the miracles, because I am open to receive miracles, I received this person. I was open for this messenger to come to me and say, I'm going to help you. And when the whole thing was over, I already thanked him so many times. He must think I'm a crazy lunatic. I left him a video testimonial. I'm like, I don't have enough from thanking him. But I saw that he was a gift. I saw him as he was a messenger. I felt being loved on, that somebody was telling me, I'm taking care of you. You know, that thing that happened that was bad because I was going to give you something much better, you know, and you were open and you received it and you got it so fast. Not always it happens so fast. Right? Sometimes we have to have the patience to start seeing this. But I've been practicing gratitude on a regular basis every single day for a while. So I think that it comes to a point that you become more open to seeing the little miracles and the big miracles that happen in our lives.
Right.
I know you have seen lots of miracles.
Oh, I write down my mirror. I also through the next level, not only do you see miracles, you invite miracles, and then you create your future. And that was what the secret and the magic and the power. And when you really deep dive into gratitude and the one of the biggest book, I have the old version, Mary. You know, oldest book. I have the old version, the Gratitude Effect.
This is what the new one looks like. Just for
look how old it is. Look how old this book is.
It was a one day reading. Like I couldn't stop it.
But I read it every year. Every year, Thanksgiving time, I read it because I remind myself, if you want to read one. Now, he's not the guru in gratitude. The guru in gratitude is Robert Emmons. And I interviewed him, and he's a phenomenal guy. He has a ton of books on gratitude. Robert Emmons is the guru in the world on gratitude. and he has courses. He does all the he gives all the courses of creating happiness and joy and gratitude in all the big universities. But this book, and I think I read every single book on gratitude. This book is short, and it just gives you the technical ways, gratitude, and it's the effects in life, everything, your relationships, your energy, your health, your emotions, how you walk through adversity. It's all in this little book, powerful, and he gives exercises in it. Does he give exercises in the new one?
Yes,
I
he does.
want to see the new one because it's probably improved, because this is so old. This is when he wrote The Secret. He was in The Secret, by the way.
This
You
is
know that?
about 272 pages.
This is 139. So
So
yeah,
there's
yeah,
definitely, yeah, you should get the new one.
yeah. Anyway, he is fantastic. He is fantastic.
He's fantastic.
And
You know that I'm a fan of Dr.
yes, yeah, he
Dimartini.
is like, yeah, and he talks about so many other things. Gratitude is his little thing that he talks about. This is not even in his industry, but he understands that everything comes from gratitude. And without the gratitude, you just can't go to the next level in anywhere. You're gonna plateau. You're gonna plateau. So it's not only to heal yourself, it's to really live on the highest level of your ability in life. And I honestly believe I did on my podcast I did 54 episodes on gratitude. 54. A lot of time I recorded. I'm so passionate about gratitude. I'm like, if there's any one thing you'll take for your mental health recovery, start with gratitude. Now when people tell me that it's a chore, that it's hard, so I said, okay, you're not there yet, but you need to graduate. You have to put a line in the sand and you're going to say, I'm graduating because I want I want to get people to a place that they feel that it's a privilege to be in the club of living with an open, grateful heart. And I say it's a privilege. It's literally a privilege because you get access to energies and things that happen to your life. Now, I'm not a hoochie boochie person. Now, you might think, oh my God, she's talking energies. I'm not. I'm a very practical person, but I know the power of gratitude. I know what it does to you. So it's a privilege. You just go to the next level of living with so many, you suddenly tap into things that you never thought that it's possible to tap into. Now, before you ask, how do I do it? So you have visuals. You see, I have visuals. I have fill your attitude with gratitude. It's constant. It's constant. One of the biggest books that was a game changer for me also, I don't have it here. I lent it out. It's called A Complaint Free World. Please read it. Please read it. Please read it. It changes your life. What you notice is how often you complain. It says in the book what are the numbers that humans complain in a day. You'll be embarrassed how often we complain. And when you're starting to notice how often you complain, then you're feeling like, oh, am I that person? Am I complaining? And then right away, when you're noticing where you're not going to complain, every time you're not going to complain, your brain automatically goes to something good. When you're shutting down a complaint, it's an automatic reaction. So you have to first walk away from the complaints and start hovering in the good. And when you start hovering there, that's where the magic happens. And it's magic. It's a life that's cozy and delicious. I'm off medication for 7 years, no, 7.5 years off. I said, okay, after working on myself, I got off slowly with my psychiatrist. I thought I was strong enough. I had 2 more children when they told me I won't be able to have children. I had 2 more children. And I did so much in my life since then. I did so much with my life since I recovered. And I honestly say that majority of the recovery that I was able to go to the next step was because I chose to hang out with the gratitude and the effects and the vibration and all the mindset that happens when you live with gratitude. It means that I have about 7,000 pictures of a sky in my phone. And now, and my kids are like, Mommy, please don't stop. I'm like, I'm going to stop. Look at that sky.
Oh my
And
God.
I melt, my heart melts when I see a pretty sky. And it happens all the time. And it could be a gray sky, and suddenly there's a tiny little beam of light, and I'm like, Oh my God, look, do you see the sun shining? And I stop my car or walking and I take a picture.
Oh my
That's
God.
what it means to live with gratitude. It means to notice butterflies, to notice art, to notice quiet. I go to sleep at night and I do a meditation, a thank you meditation for the quiet after the sound of the loud. So I'm grateful for both. I'm grateful, like the dark and the light. So I'm grateful that I have a lot of noise that I can enjoy the quiet at night.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
is
what it
hard.
means.
I'm gonna tell you that that is hard. The going the transition, because the quiet is a time where the mind starts going into places that we don't want it to go. Because during the day is easier to maintain, especially for people who suffer with anxiety. It's
Yeah.
easier when you have a task, when you have a job, you occupy yourself. I know that when I went through my adversity, the way I numbed my pain was by working 18
Oh,
hours a day.
yeah.
I had to work so much so that when I would stop working, I would literally collapse from being exhausted from working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And
I,
Shabbat for us, Shabbat, right, for both of us was torture. I used
yeah,
to say Shabbat was my torture. Now, Shabbat, the Saturday that we disconnect from everything and connect to ourselves and our family, I crave it. I'm like, I can't wait. And when it starts ending, I'm like, no, don't leave, a little bit more, a little bit more. It just, and and when the night calms down and I start hearing silence, I often say to my husband, Ari, do you hear that silence? Do you hear that silence? Take it in, close your eyes. And I literally talk like this. Now it's not, and it's often. It's often. So I try not to talk like this around people that don't know me because they look at me like a little bit weird. And they're like, but then the benefits of it, you start attracting the right people into your life, the
yes,
right the right people that can inspire you. You suddenly realize you don't want to be around these negative people because they're not so fun anymore. The pity party is not fun. And then that's the gratitude effect. When what he talks about is
yeah.
the effect of creating healthy boundaries, healthy living, and it's all with gratitude, and you create the life of privilege and joy.
Yeah. Now, I want to recommend for everybody that want to start to write it down. And I think that after a certain amount of time, when you leave it like that, you're going to be finding a million things to be grateful for. You're not going to write every single
I
thing.
don't write it down. I don't write it
Right.
down anymore.
Because you're
Unless it's
feeling
a big, big thing, I live with it. I can't write it down every 2 seconds.
right.
Unless it's
But
a
I
big miracle.
but I think that when you're working towards living with gratitude, writing is fundamental because
Yes.
I read, go back and I read those things. And if I'm sad, if something bad happens, right, and I start going to that place of poor me, I open my gratitude journal and I start reading, and I'm like, poor me. Look at this blessing that I got on this day, and this blessing, and look at this experience, and look at this opportunity that I had. And if
100%.
you write, I tend to write a minimum of 5 things a day. What happens when you are working on it, you know you're gonna have to write it down. So you have no
Yes.
choice but to make an effort to find it, because you otherwise what you're gonna do, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna go, what happened yesterday? I don't remember. No, you're noticing the whole day, throughout the whole day, because you know you're gonna have to write it down. So I think it's a good way to start living with gratitude. But I love that I keep for each year a book, and then you can go back. It also
It's
gives you an
amazing.
idea about your life, what you accomplished. We forget. The year
Yes.
passes and we're looking forward and we forget about the wonderful
Right.
things that happened last year, the year before. But if you're able to go into something and look, could be a regular journal, but when you're writing the beautiful things, it's like a compilation. It's
Right.
fantastic.
I want to give another tip for people that are having a hard time. Go into your photos, take out albums or take out your phone. It's a very quick moment of igniting gratitude. Just go back a little bit and you're going to find
Mhm.
yourself maybe crying about certain things, but you might be smiling about a lot of things. And then you'll tap into the gratitudes that you forget that even happened. So I always say a quick refreshment for gratitude. If you need to do a boost for something, go to your albums, go to your phone, Go to text messages from loved ones, and right away you're going to ignite it because it's there. It's there. And you have to make a conscious decision to really look for it and be open to it. Again, open to it. And if you're in the beginning, it's hard for you. So say, I want to. There's a certain thing in the brain that shuts you down if you lie to it and say, no, you're not. So don't say, I'm living with gratitude. Don't do the affirmation. Say, I am ready and willing to start living with gratitude. So don't fool your brain. I'm ready, or I want to live with gratitude. I want to live with gratitude. If you're so far back, it could be that you're ready, you're so depleted. So you could say, I want to live with gratitude.
But it's interesting what you're saying, not to tell as if it is in the present. Because when I write down, besides my gratitude, I write 10 dreams that I have.
Right. And it's in the present.
I write them in the present because when I write them in the present, I make a point to imagine myself in that situation.
100%.
It's helping me visualize what I want to attain. So
it's different, but you believe. I'll tell you the differences. So let's say you have somebody that's anorexic.
Mm-hmm.
And if they look in the mirror and say, I'm skinny, I'm skinny, I'm skinny, their brain's going to say, no, you're lying. You're not skinny. So it's different. If your mind is broken, and it depends what it is. If it's something that you're having such a hard time with it, your brain is going to fight you. You believe you're going to be a New York Times bestseller. It's not even you're not doubting yourself.
Okay, Matana is saying that because she knows that was one of my dreams that I wrote.
But it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And you know the people that say, I'm a billionaire, just my bank account doesn't know it yet. It's not showing. Yes, but people that doubt that they can be wealthy are not allowed to say that because they're going to stop. Their brain is going to shut them down. So you're supposed to say, I want to understand how to become a billionaire. I want to understand. So the brain is like, oh, now I'm just entertaining the idea. I'm not going to block it off. And it's a big thing in psychology and affirmations, how not to block your brain from actually being proactive. So you could say, if you're so depleted and you're not believing in it, and I'm talking for people that are like skeptical, I want to believe in it. I want to live with gratitude. And then it's already not as threatening and not big. I want to just, Mary, because I know we have to end in a few seconds. I want to tell you about a book.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very different kind of book. She is amazing, Melody. She's amazing. She wrote a ton of books. She's a therapist, and she wrote this book about how to count your blessings when things are bad for 40 days. Now, this is different. This is really different. This is how to write the awfulest thing that happened that you're grateful for. Now, it doesn't mean that you're really grateful. It means that you're bringing out the negative onto the paper, and magic happens. Magic happens. So when you write it down, you have to have a partner. She has a whole rule book how to do it. I did it a few times. It's a hard exercise, but this is a game changer.
Okay, you're gonna send us a list of those books the ones that you mentioned, and because I'm gonna put it in the group, and whoever
I will
buy it, I want to order this one. So
okay, so if anybody's going through adversity and wants to try it on the negative side of things, to write that you're grateful for, it's a very hard exercise, but it's magic. It's magic. Okay, so I just wanted to say that there's also gratitude. I'm not a huge fan of saying I'm grateful for a divorce. I'm grateful if I'm broken from it. I'm not if I'm grateful that I lost my business if I'm broken from it. I'm grateful. But I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of that, but you know what I am a fan of? Trying to find out the possibilities that could come from it.
Yes, exactly.
I went through that when COVID hit and my fashion business really lost so much money, and business. I said, well, it's a year that I'm going to be able to do a lot of writing. And then I wrote a book. I wrote a chapter in a book. I became an executive writer for a magazine. I became a writer for another online magazine. And it gave me the opportunity, but I said it when it happened. And the stores started closing and canceling orders, I said, this is going to be a year where of a lot of new possibilities. And I wrote a list of what I could potentially do. And
Right.
they happen because
Right.
I focused on them. So you can, it's not that I was happy. I wasn't grateful for what had happened to my fashion business, but I was grateful for the time that I was able to do other things that otherwise I wouldn't have had the time.
Right.
We unfortunately, it's 9:30, and maybe we'll have to have you back. We can go on for a long time, but I want to ask before we close if anybody has a question. So if you have a question, you can post now. Matana is also in our group. So if you are in the Heal with Gold group and you have a question, you can tag Matana and then she'll for sure answer. Matana is the host of a Hope to Recharge podcast that's top 100, right? In the top 100
It
heal
hit the top. Yeah, mental health
mental health.
podcast. Yeah.
She has had amazing guests like moi, Paul Cummings, and she has had some amazing.
And I had the gratitude people. I had I had Robert Emmons on my
You did?
podcast. It was my finale was with him, and he is my guru when it comes
Oh
to
my
it.
God, I have to go listen to that one. So this is what it is. I thank you so much for coming. We're going now, we just finished Hanukkah, the Jewish holiday, and we're going into Christmas and New Year's. And I want to wish everybody who's watching and everybody who will listen to it later a season of light, a lot of light, a life with light. And you are the light of your life. So shine on, right? We are the light of.
Yes.
We don't have to wait for something external.
Yes.
How can we reach out to Matana? Is she open to speaking to us? You can. Yes. She has a consultation, and she also sees people coaching private, a one-on-one. So Matana is in our group. You can send her direct message. She will send you a link to the place where you can go and make the appointment for the consultation. And then if you want to hire Matana, I highly recommend her. Matana, any final amazing words to share with everybody who's here?
I want to bring it down a little bit. I know that I was on a high, and I'm going to bring it down to people that are not there yet. And I want to give you hope and say that now I'm on a high. I wasn't there. I wasn't there, and it's hard to get there, but it's worth the time, and it's worth the energy, and just be open to the opportunity. And there's no right or wrong in gratitude. There's no right or wrong. It's just being present and being willing to notice the good. And I just I forgot to mention this is a very important part. We're not hiding the bad. We must recognize what's not feeling good, and we must give it attention. We must. And we're not pretending that we're not in pain. What we are doing is as much as we're going to hang out in the pain, we're also going to hang out in the good place. So I just wanted to make sure that people understand, because it could be really overwhelming.
Beautiful. Matana, I love you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
have a good night. Happy holidays, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Take care.